London didn't regard itself as a city, but rather as an independent republic. Sometimes it seemed as big as Belgium. It could take a whole day to cross it by car. I was also bored with London books, which had titles like Britain, What Went Wrong, and Is Britain Dying? London people said that what was wrong with Britain was wrong with the Western Hemisphere. Like many other London people, I didn't really live in Britain. This floating kingdom was a foreign country. Britain was nearby, but nearby was misleading. Distances in Britain were meaningless. So many places were so hard to get to, or else hated outsiders, or were names of villages that no longer existed. So much of Britain lay buried. I knew a little bit about some parts, because in Britain there was an oral tradition that took the place of travel, like the Bognor jokes, and Scotland was breathtaking, and Cornwall was creepy, and South Wales was awful, and Rye was ever so lovely. Everyone appeared to know everything. It was word of mouth. Scotland had the Highlands, Cambridgeshire the Fens, and Norfolk the Broads. The words called up peaks and thickets and puddles. Northerners sounded to me as though they had learned English in language labs. In London, I had once mistaken a Welshman for a Dutchman, something in his inquiring voice. As for the Irish, I'd never personally known anyone in London who took an Irishman seriously, unless the Irishman was armed. Bog-trotters, people usually said. Mix a friendly. I'd never met a soul in London who had been to Northern Ireland. I didn't know anything, and I was beginning to think that I was as bad and lazy as everyone else. Once, from behind a closed door, I heard an Englishwoman exclaim with real pleasure, "They are funny, the Yanks." And I crept away and laughed to think that an English person was saying such a thing. And I thought, they wallpaper their ceilings. They put little knitted bobble hats on their soft-boiled eggs to keep them warm. They don't give you bags in supermarkets. They say sorry when you step on their toes. Their government makes them get a $100 license every year for watching television. They issue driver's licenses that are valid for 30 or 40 years. Mine expires in the year 2011. They charge you for matches when you buy cigarettes. They smoke on buses. They drive on the left. They spy for the Russians. They say nigger and Jew boy without flinching. They call their houses Home Lee and Sparrow View. They sunbathe in their underwear. They don't say, "You're welcome." They still have milk bottles and milkmen and junk dealers with horse-drawn wagons. They love candy and Lucozade and leftovers called Bubble and Squeak. They live in Barking and Dorking and Shallow Bowels. They have amazing names like Mr. Eatwell and Lady Inkpen and Major Twaddle and Miss Tosh. And they think we're funny. The longer I lived in London, the more I came to see how much of Englishness was bluff and what wet blankets they could be. You told an Englishman you were planning a trip around Britain, and he said, "It sounds about as much fun as chasing a mouse around a piss-pot." They could be deeply dismissive and self-critical. "We're awful," they said. "This country is hopeless. We're never prepared for anything. Nothing works properly." But being self-critical in this way was also a tactic for remaining ineffectual. It was surrender. And when an English person said "we," he didn't mean himself. He meant the classes above and below him, the people he thought should be making decisions, and the people who should be following. "We" meant everyone else. "Mustn't grumble" was the most English of expressions. English patience was mingled inertia and despair. What was the use? But Americans did nothing but grumble. Americans also boasted. "I do some pretty incredible things" was not an English